I would challenge you sometime to go through the Gospels and see how many times somebody asks Jesus a question and he never answers it. I mean, Jesus never, hardly ever answers a question. None of us live that way. If somebody comes up and says, "What's that you're eating?" I tell them I'm having a salad. Here's a rich young ruler that comes to Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, and he says, "Good master, what must I do? What good thing must I do to have eternal life?" Why doesn't Jesus answer him? Jesus says, "Why do you call me good?" And then off they go. And it's sort of a little exchange of questions and answers or no answers and confusing answers and so on. I'll tell you why. Jesus doesn't answer questions. Jesus answers the heart, the real issue. Get to Luke 10, parable of the Good Samaritan. Guy comes up to Jesus and says, here he is, this guy's an Old Testament scholar, and he comes up to Jesus and he says, "What do I have to do to inherit eternal life?" How do you inherit something unless you're already in the family? But he asked this question, and Jesus says, "Well, how does the law read?" Why doesn't Jesus just answer him and say, "He that believes in me has everlasting life"? Because he knows the guy isn't sincere. And Jesus doesn't answer questions, he answers hearts. And so then the guy goes through the Old Testament law and mentions love your neighbor as yourself. And the guy wants to argue with Jesus by saying, "Well, who's my neighbor?" I think the guy's hoping that Jesus will say, "Well, the guy that shovels your walkway and picks up your newspaper when you're on vacation or when you're gone." But he doesn't. He never actually answers the question as to who my neighbor is. At the end of the parable of the Good Samaritan, he says to the man that asked him the question, he says, "And who was neighbor to the man that fell among the thieves?" Not who is my neighbor, who was he neighbor to? Maybe we ought to stop answering everybody's questions and start answering their hearts.